You're watching a film called Junior Prom from 1946. It stars a bunch of actors known as the Teen-Agers. It was the first in a series of 7 films made between 1946 and 1948. These films are the comic adventures of a group of high school students. They sing, they dance, and they hang out in a cafeteria which they call the Teen Canteen.
The high school Teen Canteen.
Like many out there, I became familiar with these films from riff tracks, with the wonderful and hilarious commentary by Mary Jo Pehl and Bridget Nelson. So far, they've done 4 of the 7 teenager films. These so-called Teen-Agers were Freddie Stewart, whose real name was Morris Joseph Lazar, aged 21, Judy Clark, aged 25, Noelle Neal, aged 26, Jackie Moran, aged 23, Frankie Darrow, aged 29, Warren Mills, aged 20, and June Preezer, aged 28. Each one of these actors had an interesting story, and I'll get to most of them in the future, but today we look at actress, singer, and dancer June Preezer.
So you do me a favor? Just call Rhoda, Bill, Don, Chuck, and Pat and tell them I said they've got to vote for Freddie.
June was an unusual dancer. This clip is from Babes in Arms from 1939. As Dr. Peter Venkman would say, nimble little minx, isn't she? June was born on June 26, 1918 in New Orleans, Louisiana to Thomas Edwards and Victorian Preisser. She was the youngest of 6 kids. She had 4 brothers and a sister named Cherry Blossom. Now, Cherry was a nervous child, so her parents sent her to dancing school at a young age. The other daughter, Cherry, plays a very important part in June's life. For if Cherry had not been a nervous child, in all likelihood, June would have never taken up dancing. Feeling that dancing would help Cherry get over her nervousness, Mrs. Preisser had the little girl go to dancing school. Then, a natural result when 2 sisters are so devoted, June had to take up dancing also. The sisters were discovered by a man named Al Trahan, a famous vaudevillian performer at the time. When they were discovered, June was 7 years old. What happened? There was an auto wreck, June reported. A big smash up on the street. So all of us kids went out to give a look, and pretty soon we began showing off, doing stunts. What I did was cartwheels. There was a man watching us. He said he thought I was pretty good. I told him my sister Cherry was even better. So he came home with me and talked to my mother. He was Al Trahan, the vaudeville star. He was playing all week at the Orpheum Theater, and he just happened to be passing by. Mr. Trahan talked Mother into letting us at least go down and see the manager at the Orpheum. He said that he guessed maybe we'd get by for a week, being home folk and all, so Cherry and I did our stunts for pay. And then an act scheduled to go on in a Fort Worth theater never arrived. The manager was frantic. He had to have somebody, so he took us in. A feature of the beauty parade was the appearance of Little Miss June and Cherry Preezer of New Orleans, who led the pageant. The talented Preisser Sisters, June and Cherry Blossom, just off the Orpheum stage in some clever song and dance numbers. Contrary to a few newspapers at the time, there were only 2 sisters. Within a short time, their mother became their manager, and they joined vaudeville. They were very successful. Cherry Blossom and June, the girls from the South. dance through their varieties stage act like a May breeze through a cherry orchard. These Preisser sisters are skilled and graceful, and the contortions of the younger sister are some of the best we have seen. Dixie's own dancing daughters, Cherry Blossom and June, the two Preisser sisters, the darlings of vaudeville. The vaudeville program includes Cherry Blossom and June Preezer in song and dance. The Preisser sisters have just returned from a successful tour of the Orpheum Circuit. They appeared at various playgrounds around New Orleans prior to their professional engagements. Pretty and Petite were the darlings of vaudeville, the two Preisser sisters who dance with the Dixie spirit right into the hearts of the audience. Cherry Blossom and her sister June Preezer are a knockout as dancers. June is just a youngster, but she just about steals the honors on the whole bill with their flips and flops and dances. She cavorts around in a fashion that would make one wonder if she has any bones. June is a young blonde about 15, a provocative bit of humanity whose bones are seemingly made of rubber. She's an unusually clever, acrobatic dancer who does a series of aerial somersaults and cartwheels in breathless rapidity. The audience bursts into applause at her every turn. But just when we had made up our minds that she was quite a cute thing, she answered a curtain call with a few Bowery-like gestures that spoiled everything. Now, I have no idea what Bowery-like gestures are, or why they would spoil everything, but there you go. While there are several fine vaudeville numbers on this week's bill, a little miss, not more than 11 years of age, June Preezer, does some acrobatic dancing that is without a doubt some of the best we've seen in this theater. She's assisted by her sister. It wasn't long before they were asked to appear on Broadway. Monday's column presumes that Cherry and June Preezer, the century's exciting young dancers, would be invited to Broadway soon. 3 weeks from today, they're joining the cast of Phil Baker's Revue, which probably will open sometime in August. Their fame kept rising. June was 17 when they joined the Ziegfeld Follies. The hit of the show, outside of Mrs. Smith, is the dancing of the adorable Cherry and June Preezer, two girls, almost children, who are as brilliant acrobatic dancers as we've seen on the Keith stage. The blonde girl has a delicious comedy sense, which enlivens her act, and both are so pretty, so fresh, and so sweet that the audience bursts into applause just to look at them. And then I found these comic strips in many papers. I don't know if I understand them, but they are amusing. It wasn't long before they were asked to appear on Broadway. Cherry and June Preezer, eccentric dancers, have just added a new routine to their act in the Ziegfeld Follies at the Winter Garden. Cherry and June, the Preezer youngsters who do a spectacular dance in the current Follies, are working just long enough to buy a farm. They expect to retire and live on it. Cherry and June Preezer, popular entertainers of the stage and radio fame, who are currently headlining in the Ziegfeld Follies, and Regis Toomey, screenplayer, now making a personal appearance tour throughout the East, have just signed to appear in a two-reel Vodafone musical by Sam Sachs, production chief of the company's Brooklyn studios. The short, the first in a series of 4, was called Wash Your Step.
Angel child, wish you'd stop running wild. You're just a plaything, a gay thing. Mother's angel child. I feel just like dancing. Goodness, what a thrill. I just can't stop prancing. My feet won't keep still. Tell you what, now give it all you've got. I'm going crazy, hazy. Come on, sis.
At the age where most girls are in a dither over their first junior prom, Cherry and June Preezer are enjoying international fame. They have come a long way in a short time to become a featured act with the Ziegfeld Follies, coming to the Shrine Auditorium Sunday, March 21st. But the 1937 Follies is not their first. They are seasoned members of the cast. June, the youngster, they are 16 and 17, started dancing at 2.5 years while Cherry held off till the ripe old age of 3. Their first appearance was made in their hometown, New Orleans, Louisiana, in the stage of the RKO Orpheum Theater. The youngsters danced their way north to the Palace Theater in New York City, where Lee Sherbert saw them and signed them for the 1935 Follies. Then they went to Europe, played in Paris, where the Duchess of New York, now the Queen of England, was delighted with June's "Looky, looky, looky, here comes Cookie." In England, they met with success, and June sang the same song in a Gaumont British picture with Jessie Matthews. Although their rise has been meteoric in the view of their youth, these girls in no way top the fame of the others in the cast. But all good things must come to an end. During their second stint with the Ziegfeld Follies, Cherry met the son of a famous man. His name was David J. Hopkins, and the two were secretly married. At first, Cherry seemed content to stay with the act. "But I'm not giving up my career," she said backstage at the Bijou late yesterday afternoon. "David loves me and he understands." But when she received some happy news, things changed. Cherry Blossom is the wife of David Hopkins, son of Henry Hopkins, Works of Progress administrator. They are expecting a baby in February. June is often seen in the company of John Hertz Jr. Left alone, now that her sister and dancing partner Cherry is married to David J. Hopkins, son of the WPA administrator, blonde June Preezer will have to do a single. Until the right man comes along anyway. June is 19. Lively June Preezer has always been a cute youngster, but lately she's developing into a little beauty. June Preezer and John Hertz are an item. June and John Hertz apparently didn't work out because his name at this point disappears from her story. Then there's June Preezer, making her first solo appearance since her partner's sister married someone high in the New Deal's administration. The Preisser Sisters, both New Orleans girls and therefore cute, were stars when a team, and June is even more so by herself. Now a solo act, June made her way to Hollywood. A Hollywood note states that June Preezer has been signed by MGM to play opposite Mickey Rooney. With her sister Cherry, she got her start with theatricals and appeared here with the Ziegfeld Follies at the Palace in '34. At that time, they were entertained by friends here. As we recall, June was the acrobatic, hoydenish half of the sister team, and should make a great screen companion for the irrepressible Mickey. June Preezer started dancing career at the tender age of 2. At 18, she's still dancing, and her greatest ambition is never to stop. In Hollywood, she lives with her mother, 2 Cocker Spaniels, and an Irish setter. June is a human atom of energy, both in dancing and in personality. 5 feet tall, she's 100 pounds of dynamic action. She's a little superstitious. Her favorite sports are horseback riding and fishing. She's a good swimmer, but had to give it up when she found it made her muscles too soft for her tumbling dances.
Hello, Patsy. I'm Miss Barton. This is Miss Essex, the once famous baby Rosalie.
How do you do? I remember you very well. Really? Did you see my biggest success, The Queen's Little Daughter? Or did you see my smash hit, The Baby General? Well, let me see. It all seems so long ago. Sauerkraut juice, please. I watch my weight very carefully.
After 10 years of trouping, June Preezer, former Broadway dancing star, was finally kissed for the first time in her teenage career by Mickey Rooney in a scene from Babes in Arms. Babes in Arms was a huge success, despite the uncomfortable racist minstrel scene in the middle. June would appear in 6 films for MGM.
Why, I don't even know your middle name.
You call me Crazy Daisy.
Crazy Daisy.
And I'll call you Andy Dandy.
Handy dandy.
Now, Andy Dandy, give Crazy Daisy a kiss. James, do you really want to kiss me?
Huh?
Notice to MGM. I hope Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer will appreciate how popular little June Preezer is after her appearance in Babes in Arms. They shouldn't wait but capitalize immediately on the tremendous applause given her in every town we played. June today is as promising a star as there is in Hollywood, and nobody knows it better than I do, having listened to the audience reaction to her for 8 weeks. She captivated every man, woman, and child and received tons of fan mail all over the country. This was not to be. After a small role in Andy Hardy's Private Secretary in 1941, playing the same character she had played in Judge Hardy and Son, she left MGM. In early 1941, it was reported that June was having a romance with Garwood Jr., the son of the famous speedboat racer and millionaire. More importantly, it was reported that June has left Metro, probably a wise move, for she conflicted with Judy Garland and never was able to get the right break in the picture she made with Judy and Mickey Rooney. I wonder if there was some tension between Garland and June, but hey, you never know. June Preezer, whose option wasn't taken up by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, has been signed to Paramount and will be featured in the Henry Aldridge series. It was reported in several newspapers that June signed a 7-year contract with Paramount. However, the best that I can tell, she only made 2 films with Paramount before moving on. Hollywood, March 4th. June Preezer, blonde screen starlet and Garwood's II, son of the noted Detroit speedboat champion, will announce their engagement soon, friends of the actress and her studio said today. Young Wood arrived in Hollywood last Sunday for a visit, and the couple disclosed to friends that they were engaged. They met several months ago when the actress was in Detroit on a personal appearance tour. Spoiler alert, Gar and June were never married. The story goes something like this. In May of 1941, they announced they were engaged, but in June of 42, Guy married Catherine Vincent, a woman that he had met 7 years earlier. The following month, July, June married Dick Terry. June Preezer, film actress, above, has announced that she and Dick Terry, radio announcer, were secretly wed in Las Vegas, Nevada last June. The only clues I have as to why June and Gar split was from these couple of newspaper articles. His son was engaged to June Preezer, but June was not ready to give up her career. Miss Preezer was engaged at one time to Gar Wood, son of the millionaire boat builder, but their matrimonial plans were shelved when the actress decided that her film career came first. While Garwood's Dick Terry and June were all sorting this out, tragedy struck the Preezer family on May 6, 1941. June Cherry and her family mourned the passing of her mother due to a heart attack. Eddie Bracken, June Preezer will co-star. Eddie Bracken and June Preezer will be co-starred by Paramount in Sing a Song of Homicide, a murder mystery film with music laid against a college background. Sing Me a Song of Homicide would be released the following year as Sweater Girl. At this point, she was making the film Henry Aldridge for President. June Preezer sings. For the first time in her screen career, June Preezer will sing in Paramount's Henry Aldridge for President. She was featured in the Ziegfeld Follies when she was only 7 and is noted for her singing. At the same time, she was on the road performing something called the Sweater Girl Review. Blonde June Preezer will head Hollywood Starlets. 7 Hollywood starlets, led by little June Preezer, blonde dancing star who held a conspicuous role in Babes in Arms and Strike Up the Band, are on their way to Dayton and will be seen on the Colonel stage the week of October 17th under the general title of Hollywood Sweater Girl Review. June Preezer, whom we admire very much when we saw her with Luella Parsons' stage unit last season in Detroit, is a charming entertainer who can sing and do acrobatics as well as act and dance. Pictures in which she has good parts in but are not yet released are The Sweater Girl and Henry Aldridge for President. And oddly, she made a short with her family. For the family trade, June Preezer, currently the feminine lead in Sweater Girl, has just completed filming a one-reel 16mm Western, Wastrels of the Wastelands, in which all members of her family appear, including her brothers Ed and Fred, her sister Cherry, and her brother-in-law David Hopkins, to say nothing of the later couple's children, June and Cherry Jr. If anyone has a copy of that one-reeler, I'd love to see it. In October of 1941, her first film with Paramount was released, Henry Aldridge for President, starring Jimmy Lydon. In May of 1942, June went back on the road in Vincent Yeoman's Hit the Deck. The comedy play has gay, gobs, and girls, whatever that means. And then her second and last Paramount film opened in theaters. June has always said she wanted a family of 12 children. Little June was with me on 2 of my personal appearance tours, and I don't know anyone who would be a better mother. She loves children and plays with her sister's 2 youngsters just like she was one of them. Snapshot of Hollywood, collected at random. The David Hopkins, Cherry Preezer, expect their 3rd child before June Preezer's Terry's baby arrives. Question, what's next for June Preezer? Answer, June will not make a film for some time as she's leaving the cast of the stage show Count Me In to wait until after her baby is born. June and Terry's baby was born premature in January of 1943. Over a long-distance telephone, Dick Terry told me that he and June Preezer, his wife, were all packed to come to Hollywood when their baby son arrived prematurely. By March, June was back performing live. Some of the reviews, however, were not that kind. Billed as a sparkling star of the screen and stage, June goes through a routine of hotcha songs that hardly would pass muster at a second-rate nightclub here. And so another Hollywood flop is writing into the records of Miami vaudeville. This is particularly regrettable and censorable because this little girl has really done some sensational acrobatic dancing on the screen and stage. But as a songstress, she's still a swell acrobatic dancer. And during that time of touring around the country, she took the time to join the Waves. Screen actress to join Waves. Miami, Florida, March 18th. Screen actress June Preezer files a preliminary application for enlistment in the Waves, the Navy's Women Reserves. Her husband, Richard Terry, approves her step and accompanies her to the Naval Procurement Office. The daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Thomas E. Preisser of New Orleans, the actress is 5 feet tall and weighs 100 pounds. She's on a personal appearance tour. As far as I know, June Preezer is the first film actress to enlist in the Waves. June, a cute little trick type, is a New Orleans girl. Let's give her 6 rousing cheers. For the rest of 1942 and into 1943, June continued to perform on the stage. June Preezer, popular young dancer of stage and screen, is now in curtain time review at the Karen, joining the company at the close of her recent engagement at the Golden Gate. Universal signs June Preezer for 2 films. I've been wondering why little Preezer hasn't been signed by some film company. Then I learned that the matter had been taken care of by Universal. She'll make 2 pictures there, and her first will be a chiller-diller mystery, Murder in the Blue Room.
Maybe if we keep moving, we can walk it off, huh?
Yeah.
In Universal's Babes on Swing Street, Anne Blythe and June Preezer are competing romantically for Bill Dunn. In real life, Anne is 15 and June, married to radio announcer Dick Terry, is the mother of a 15-month-old son. I don't need an enthusiastic PA to tell me that little June Preezer broke all records on a recent personal appearance tour. Just a couple of years ago, Junie was on a barnstorming tour with me, and I can vouch for it firsthand that she was the showstopper everywhere we appeared. Today I learned she's been signed up by Columbia for a comedy role in Let's Go Steady. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I hope this gets her off to the screen break she deserves. She's so pretty and such a swell little performer. They're so enthused over June Preezer at Columbia that a series may be devised in which she stars as a typical jivin' hepcat. I have no idea what that means or what it's referring to, but I wouldn't mind being called a jivin' hepcat. False alarm! June Preezer has gone back to the soil on a small ranch in the valley. The other night she thought she heard a prowler on the front porch and telephoned the local constable, who immediately responded and, upon investigation, found that the prowlers were walnuts dropping from the trees of the roof, then rolling down the porch. By 1945, she was back on the stage after her 2-picture deal with Universal was over. June Preezer is in New York, waiting for a visa to take her to Brazil. She has a 10-week engagement at the Club Atlantico in Rio. She made 2 films for Columbia during 1945, I'll Tell the World and Let's Go Steady.
This is the story of a solid sender who beat the boogie on an 88. This killer Dill is just a little baby, but he plays piano that is truly great. I sent me baby with a not her card. Send me with an other card.
And now June had made films for MGM, Paramount, Universal, and Columbia, but to continue her film career, she turned to Poverty Row. Poverty Row is a slang term used to refer to small and mostly short-lived B-movie studios that produced low-budget Hollywood films between the 20s and the 50s. taking a job with Poverty Row usually is considered a step down for an actor. June Preezer, bouncy little blonde, has been signed up for the lead in a series of teenage musicals for Monogram. Between 1946 and 1948, June, the 28-year-old, who was married and had a son, would play Dottie Rogers, a student at Whitney High School, in 7 films. She would be the girlfriend of Freddie Trimble, a 21-year-old big band singer who had once been part of Tommy Dorsey's orchestra, but whose career had taken a downward turn. High school hero in musical comedy. The rah-rah-rah of scholastic life is tunefully depicted on the screen in High School Hero, latest teenager musical comedy which opens today at the Grand Theater. Freddie Stewart and June Preezer head the cast of jubilant personalities again featured in this frolicsome story of life at Whitney High. In the first Whitney High School film, June had 2 sisters, Judy Clark, who played Addie Rogers and would leave the film after the first serial, and Noelle Neal as Betty Rogers. You might know Neal as the woman who would play Lois Lane in the 1948 film serial Superman, the film Atomic Man vs. Superman in 1950, as well as the 1950s television serial Adventures of Superman. She was in all 7 films and appeared very close to June, but the truth was a little different. In the book Ladies of the Western by Michael G. Fitzgerald and Boyd Meggers, she said, "I signed up for Monogram for 7 of the teenager pictures, but I only did 4 of them. You work pretty fast in those cheapies." And then she was reminded that she did all 7. I don't care. You can say there were 20 for all I care. June Preezer was stuck up anyway. Only because she had been in vaudeville 50 years before that, she thought she was a star. I didn't like her much, and vice versa, I guess.
You were great. That last touchdown you made was sensational. The governor just can't wait to see us play tomorrow.
Never mind that. When can I change? This thing's uncomfortable.
See if you can fit in my locker.
In there?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Get undressed and get out of here. What do you think?
Well, it's wonderful, fellas, except
Except what?
can't swim.
She can't swim. Oh, but Freddie, couldn't you teach her how to swim? Don't be silly. How can I teach a girl how to swim?
Facilities. In other words, they're out on probation, huh?
Wait a minute. That gives me an idea.
Take this down, Lee. It's liable to be good.
No, I'm not kidding.
Well, we can't. We gotta stay here. We can't go and leave you with that in there.
He's dead. He can't hurt anyone.
Now, besides these 7 teenager films, June made 2 other films. 2 Blondes and a Redhead, with Jan Porter and Judy Clark, who played her sister in the first Teen-Agers film, and in 1948 there was Music Man, which starred Jimmy Dorsey and his orchestra, along with her co-star in all the teenager films, Freddie Stewart. June Preezer was cast to play one of the 2 blondes, the other one is Judy Clark, in 2 Blondes and a Redhead, a musical in which Sam Katzman is producing. The redhead is played by Jean Porter, who starred in the musical with Jimmy Lloyd opposite. As a screen actress, June Preezer makes a nice chunk of money. She's making it too as a private individual dabbling in Southern California real estate. June Preezer owns 4 valuable lots on Ventura Boulevard, with the Balboa Beach House besides her San Francisco home. The actress makes a specialty of building houses, renovating and improving them, and then reselling them. In 1949, she starred in the stage musical Annie Get Your Gun. But after 1949, her life becomes sort of a mystery. I can find very little. Remember June Preezer, the vivacious blonde who used to be a singer and dancer in movies? She's now a movie editor at WEBC in Duluth. Remember little June Preezer, the dancer who with her sister Cherry was such a sensation about 10 years ago? Well, June is back in town with her 8-year-old son, Nicky. Very quietly, she filed for divorce September 13th from Dick Terry, radio announcer to whom she had been married for almost 10 years. Now June wants to return to work, television, movies, or personal appearances. She's a hard-working little girl and went out with me twice when I took young stars on tour. She's staying with her sister Cherry, who is mother of 6 little girls and is married to David Hopkins, son of the late Harry Hopkins. But sadly, the only thing I can find that she did after was a TV show called Chevron Theater. Backward Clock, another bonus show, brings us Buddy Epson and Harry Carey Jr. in The Peculiar Clock on Chevron Theater over KTLA at 9 p.m. June Preezer is featured in the story of the inventor of a clock that runs backwards and thus causes many unique things to happen to the lives of many people. And then there was this from 1952, Nearly 18. I can find no information about it. After 1952, there's nothing. It's as if she had just disappeared. The next mention of her was from July of 1964 when her sister Cherry sadly passed away at the age of 46 in Sydney, Australia, leaving behind her husband and 6 daughters. In 1972, Anne Rutherford was interviewed in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Anne had been in those films with Mickey Rooney. She said this of June Preezer. June Preezer, the cute little libidinous blonde, has a string of dancing schools in Inglewood. She's still doing backflops, I guess. I couldn't find anything about those dancing schools. In fact, I could find nothing until the sad news of 1984. Richard Josiah Terry, 41, of the 8800 block of Southwest 6th Street, was killed in the 7 a.m. accident at the 3000 block of Powerline Road. His mother, June Preezer, 61, of the same address, was killed while riding with Terry. According to reports that came out after her death, in 1972 her dancing school went out of business. No explanation is given, but she moved in with her son Richard in Florida. Richard was married and had 2 kids. She took a job at Papineau Office Supply, Inc., where Richard worked. To her co-workers in South Florida, Preezer was a private woman who kept her screen days to herself. I don't think she talked about it with anybody, said Janet Scarr, who worked with Preezer. She was a very private person. She never dwelled too much on these things. But somehow the word, but not the details, got out. It kind of leaked out. You could tell from her facial features. I think she acted with Mickey Rooney, said Robert Scarr, owner of Papineau Office Supply. She was quite reluctant to divulge that part of her life. She worked as a store clerk, he said. Preezer's family, in seclusion Friday, did not want to talk about her or her acting days. No one knew why Preezer left show business or why she decided to keep it a secret. I can't help but wonder if something happened, something she didn't want to talk about that caused her to give up show business. And what happened to her real estate dealings or her dancing schools? So many questions. I can only hope that between the years of her acting and her death, she was content and happy.